And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Smokin Tobacco Show. My name is Matt Tobacco, and I am joined once again by my friend Mr. Jonathan M. Carney from La Flor Dominicana. And he is repping the Alabama tonight. I see he's got the Alabama colors on tonight. Roll Tide Roll.
What's
Um,
that?
so we have a special guest with us tonight. We have Mr. Nick Laramie from Drew
What up?
Estate.
What up? How's it
Nick,
going, y'all?
what's going on, man?
Man,
Uh,
everything and nothing.
I've been really excited to get Nick on the show. You know, there's always like so many people we always talk about. Oh, we gotta get so and so on the show. We gotta get so and so on the show. And Nick was one of those people I was like, oh, we definitely gotta get him on the show. He's a fun dude, great guy. Drew Estate, big company. You guys all know Drew Estate. Liga Privada, Undercrown, Acid, the Deadwood stuff. I mean, a lot of cool stuff out there. Stuff that a lot of people like. Nick, thank you for coming on the show. I do have a Drew Estate cigar that I'm going to light up, and that is going to be a Liga Privada number 9.
Oh,
Love this cigar.
damn! You got fancy on me.
Little bit.
Coincidentally, Nick, the list of people that we wanted on the show were one Carlito Fuente and then 2 Nick Laramie.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I mean,
hey.
we're already ascended to one of our highest guests.
Hey, I appreciate that.
We
I don't know that I have as good as stories, but maybe.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like you probably got some stories, maybe even some non-cigar stories that are probably pretty entertaining. I don't know. You just seem like one of those guys that's definitely seen some things in your day. I don't know. I always have a good time when I talk with you and I chat with you. When I run into you at the shop. I mean, not now because of like the coronavirus and all that, but it's always been a good time. And I was telling you before the show, and sorry, I do this every week, but I'm trying to. Oh, I'm gonna share this in the Drew Estate group tonight. Just sharing the show online. I always do this right at the beginning, get it out of the way.
See, what we ought to do, Matthew, is
Yes, sir.
we ought to start the show. Then you introduce me, and then I talk for a little bit. You do all the sharing. Then I come back and take it back to you. Then we introduce Nick, and then you got all your sharing done.
That's true. You know, we should totally do that. You know, we're always innovating here at Smokin Tobacco. There's always new stuff we're figuring out every week. Thanks to Mr. John Carney. No,
Some notes that we probably could have used like a week ago.
Yeah, I wish you told me that like before.
Yeah.
He waits until after it's too late, and then he tells me live on the show. Not like, hey, you know.
Yeah, it makes
I like
it makes for good live. You know, it makes good lives. You know, live content. You know what I mean? And it's it lets people know what that things aren't. Things are better behind closed doors than they are in open doors. You know.
It's true. Yeah, we don't hide anything here at the Smokin Tobacco Show. At least not too much. So we're gonna talk, about all of Drew Estate, or as much of Drew Estate as we can in the show tonight. But I want to start off with this, since I'm smoking a Liga number 9. Great stick. I love the cigar. I smoke them all the time. I was telling Nick earlier that I don't know why, but I didn't really get into Liga until this year, and now it's like every time I find one, it's like my new thing. It's like, oh, I get all excited every time I try a new Liga. I've smoked through probably, I want to say at least half of the line, like especially like the Unicos and the Velvet Rat, the Dirty Rat, the Ratzilla, the UF, the LP. I have a Feral.
I saw you rocking that A.
Yep, the A. The A is good. The Flying Pig is cool. I love that size too. That's a cool size. I had the Liga Pig, and I haven't smoked it yet. I have a Pappy Van Winkle Pig. I don't know you guys
Oh,
make as
okay.
well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have one of those upstairs.
I don't even have one of those.
Someone gave it to me a while ago, and it's been sitting there. And we were talking about this before the show. Like guys like us, and I'm sure a lot of you out there too. You get to a point where you start collecting cigars, and you have like regular cigars that you bulk up on, and then you have like the really limited fancy sticks that you come across, and then you save them, and you don't smoke them right away, and then you just start to build it up, and then you just have like this huge collection of all these different cigars, and you're like, you're waiting for like the right time to smoke it, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna smoke something like fancy tonight, and then you go into it and you get so overwhelmed, you're like, I'm just gonna like smoke a Perdomo, and then you just grab like, one of those, and then the collection keeps building. That's kind of the problem I have right now, but yeah, no, I'm
No
smoking.
disc to Perdomo though.
Yeah, I mean this. Yeah, not that Perdomo's bad. Perdomo's great. But I am smoking the number 9. Few months ago, yeah, it was a few months ago this year. I was at the Cigar Authority on a Saturday, and I don't remember. I don't remember the context because I got into it a little late. But they had a box of number 9s, and I believe it was the second batch back when Steve Saka was still at Drew Estate, and it was noticeably different. The wrapper was a lot lighter. The band was a little different, and like the design was the same, but you could tell like it looked like it was made differently or something like that. You could tell like when you put them side by side, they're definitely different. I remember smoking that, and I think he said that box was from 2008, and I was like, wow. I mean, I like the regular number 9, but that one was different. You could tell it tasted different. It was fantastic. It had a much more refined flavor. I mean, granted, it had a lot more age on it too.
I was gonna say that's what 12 years will do to you.
But I just remember going, wow. And then he's like, yeah, it's from 2008. I'm like, oh, all right. Well, I mean,
So I'll never get that again.
but it was good. So I loved it. It was fantastic. So yeah, the Ligas are great. And I was talking to Nick before, and I was saying how the first T52 I had, it was a bad experience. And then I kind of wrote off T52. And then some time went by, and I was like, it's not fair. I got to give it a second chance because you can't have one and then write something off. You got to smoke it a couple times before you're like, I just don't like it. And I tried it again, and I was like, oh, see, like this is great. And now I'm back on T52, and I like the T52 as well.
Of the two, I prefer T52.
Do you?
I do, absolutely.
Me
I love
too.
the Habano.
Yeah. Now there is one that I haven't had, and I don't think a lot of people have because it's definitely I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's the hardest Liga to find, and that's the H99.
Yeah, so that was a very small production for the 10th anniversary of Liga last year. They thought they had enough to start sending it out, so they sent out, I want to say, 16 boxes maybe,
Yeah.
and then realized that they didn't have enough for the rest of the year. So they released that and the 10th anniversary at the same time, and then realized late that they didn't have enough to send them out. So they eventually will start coming into production. I actually got one because my wife and I were in Puerto Rico when they won the lottery system to get it. And I just happened to go into that store, and nobody had called in and bought the boxes because they didn't speak Spanish, apparently. And they had a couple, so I literally got 2. I smoked one there, and I have one floating around in my humidor in my rare stash.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely one that I remember reading about it, and I was like, wow, I really want to try that. Especially now that I am on the Liga kick, it's on my list of ones to try, but it's been hard to find. But yeah, hopefully it'll be a little bit more accessible in the future. It sounds like, so I'm looking forward to
It
that.
will be. So will the 10th anniversario.
Yeah, yeah, that's another
Those will
one.
both be available.
Yeah, those I've smoked the Undercrown, which I liked. I like the Sungrown, the Undercrown Sungrown. I like. I find it very
That's actually what
enjoyable.
I'm smoking now.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's a very good
Conveniently
cigar.
enough.
And then of course, if you don't know, who makes what, Drew Estate's also known for another big name, the Acid line. If you're not familiar with Acid, that's an infused cigar. You've probably seen them. You might have had one before if you're a casual cigar smoker. A lot of times they get called flavored, but the correct term is infused. Nick, I believe is.
I appreciate that.
Yep. It's the appropriate term is infused cigar, not flavored cigar. The Cuba Cuba is one that's very popular with the blue band. It's very recognizable. If you smoke acid, you know it. If you don't smoke acid, but you've maybe had it, you probably definitely have come across it. Good cigar. I don't smoke a lot of infused cigars myself. However, I do enjoy them from time to time. Like when I am in the mood, I will smoke like a Cuba Cuba. Also, one that I really enjoy is the Amigos. That I can find
Yes.
right here in New
An
England.
exclusive.
That's an exclusive to Two Guys Smoke Shop.
There's a couple of gentlemen that get that exclusive.
Yeah, that's a very good one. So yeah, you guys have a pretty robust lineup, and then obviously you have the Deadwood stuff, which Smoking
Yep.
Nicole is a huge fan of, specifically the Sweet Jane, and the what's the Leather Rose is your other favorite. I was gonna say the Fat Bottom Betty, but I wasn't sure. The Leather Rose she also enjoys as well.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
so yeah, you guys have a great lineup of very diverse, different products. Out of everything that you guys have in your portfolio, what would you say, is your favorite?
See, I like the width and breadth of our lineup because we have something for pretty much everybody. I mean, obviously there's going to be people that just hate your company for whatever reason, but by and large, it's like if you like infused or flavored or sweet, we have something for that. If you like, I mean, we have fire cured and some other non-traditional, some pipe tobacco ones like the Deadwood line and the La Rutan, which I still, out of habit, still call the natural line,
Hmm.
but for reasons we had to change that name. So um, I don't know. To me, I like that we have that end, but we also have our more traditional lines: the Herrera Esteliz, the Norteño, the Brazilian Maduro, the Undercrown, the Liga Privada, obviously. So we just have, and my one of my favorite things about our company is we get the right to distribute Hoya de Nicaragua, who's just been crushing it for the last couple of years with the Antonio Connecticut, the Antonio 1970, which is one of the cigars that got me into cigars. They're the oldest cigar makers in Nicaragua, and having such a traditional company with the absolute opposite end of that is a pretty brilliant move,
Yeah.
but also kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people. The hell was that, John? I think
It
that
was a
was.
yacht. No, it was a yacht.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what the fuck?
It's trying to get a hold of you.
I live on the water.
Yeah, John's back down in Miami.
There's a yacht going under the causeway.
Thank you for disturbing the show with that. That. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. Um, leave it to John. Ruin the flow of the show.
I didn't even say anything.
I know. But you're responsible because it came through your feed. um, yeah, no, I mean the Drew Estate collection is one that I don't know, and I talk about this all the time. Like you just get so centered on like three brands, and then you just smoke those like all the time, and you just go like this rotation of like one, two, three, and then you block out everything else. And Drew Estate is a brand that I've recently like kind of come back, rediscovered, and started to kind of explore again. And now like, I'm really into the Liga line, and the Undercrown line is another good one. So I've been getting kind of back into the headspace with Drew Estate. Um, the a lot of things. One thing that people don't know, um, at least I don't think. Well, I mean, I think industry people would know, but if you're not in the industry, even you don't remember if you're newer to it. Steve Saka used to be over there at Drew Estate before he broke off and went and started Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, which is really cool.
Yep.
And I believe that was when did he leave? What year was that? I don't know if
It's
you
probably
know.
6-7 years ago.
I
Yeah,
want to say it was
No,
a 06, if I'm not
yeah.
mistaken.
yeah,
So
Six,
05 or
16.
06.
You mean
Yeah,
2016?
16 rather.
Yeah.
yeah.
I have a question on
And
that because this is an interesting thing from a sales perspective for you. So Steve and Nick left and they go and did their own separate ways, and there's obviously a lot of stories and things they tell out there. That becomes part of what you have to deal with on the road. Is these questions about those
all
things?
the
How do
time.
you manage that? Because it's part of the history, they're part of the story, but they're not part of the now. So how do you manage that? And represent that to the best of your ability. What direction do you go with
To
that?
me,
Because
to me,
that's a unique challenge.
it was a challenge when I first started, and I had heard wildly varying stories on how each departed and why, and all the gossip really beyond from third and fourth parties, and finally having known Nick Melillo since I lived in Colorado, and he did as well for a while. I've known him for a really long time. I consider him a very good friend of mine, and I had heard his version of the stories before I even started with Drew Estate. And coming into the fold, I had heard Drew Estate's side of the stories. And having met Sock out here, because he's from right down the road, I'm in Merrimack, he's in Dunbarton, so we're both in New Hampshire right now. And ultimately, like, I don't care about the stories. To me, each one of those guys are making great, great fucking cigars. And to me, any of that drama is for other people. I can hear it and I'll just laugh about it. I hear all the rumors and all the trash talk, and ultimately, it doesn't matter to me. Like, Nick is making fantastic cigars with Foundation. Dunbarton is making incredible cigars as well. So to me, I think all of that makes the industry better. I mean, even if the drama draws new people in, hey, it draws new people in. I just don't need it.
I mean, I wasn't implying that there was any drama. So, I mean, if you're welcome to tell us some of these drama stories, I'm just kidding. I was referencing in a way that both of those parties communicate what their product is based off of a product that you sell. Like, I've never sat down and had a conversation with Saka where he hasn't brought up Liga Privada. I haven't sat down and had a conversation with Nick too often where Liga Privada doesn't come up or something to that. Now, that's part of what they are, but those are what you're selling. And I think, where your company's at maybe is try to separate and build off of what they did and separate. So, that's really the direction I was going with that question, was not what their exits were about, but where they are currently, because that's part of propping their brand up.
Yeah, and I mean, in a way, like, they paid their dues. Both of them worked for the company for a really long time, did great things with this company, brought it from what was known as one thing into what's known as completely other in a lot of ways. I mean, we were the brand that was known for acid, and now we're the brand that's known for Liga Privada and acid. It's two sides of the same coin.
Yep.
And so to me, in a way, like, shit, we owe part of our existence to those guys. They put in a lot of work, so I would never want to discount that either.
Yeah, I mean, and I wanted to bring it up because I think it is an important part of the history of Drew Estate. And for those watching, Nick Melillo, the other person who was formerly at Drew Estate, now runs Foundation Cigar, the Tabernacle, the Upsetters, some brands you guys might have seen and recognize or know pretty well. But yeah, so I mean, you guys are definitely one of the bigger companies, and you guys have had some guys like that who have come and gone. You guys have Jonathan Drew, the well-known Jonathan Drew, who currently graces the cover of Cigar Journal magazine, which I have not read yet, but I do have it. So yeah, I mean, pretty diverse, and like you said, you guys are known for multiple different household names, which is cool. You have some companies where, like, Padron, Perdomo, all of it is just the name, but you guys kind of have like those big names, and then you have multiple, and you can spread those out, and you can have a different consumer base here and then a different consumer base here, and it's great because it makes you more diverse. It expands on your customer base and your and who you're reaching to, which is fantastic for any company. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, we have a question here, and I'm going to try to go back and find it, from Zach Gage. Nick, what is the craziest thing? Actually, you know what? I'm going to have Nick answer it first because he was asked, but John can probably answer this too. What is the craziest thing you've seen at an event?
Ooh. That's a bit of a loaded question.
I mean, between the two of you, you've obviously done a bunch of events, in your territory. John's now on a much broader scale, probably does even more events now. But in your days, I'm sure you guys have both seen something that you were just like, "Wow, what the hell was that?"
I saw this corpulent gentleman and a very thin supermodel-esque woman that were basically feeding each other shots all night. And as they were escorted out of the building by the bouncer in Rhode Island, I think John might know who I'm talking about. The young lady was walking, and the man, Bobby Ord, on top of her, just tripped on a step and fell 3 steps on top of her on the way to their cab. And I thought for sure the lady was dead. I thought for sure she was dead underneath him. I was like, this is impressive.
It's not a
Wow.
not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that pretty much all the stories I was thinking about are from Rhode Island.
I've heard Rhode Island gets pretty wild down there with the well, in general, but there's a lot of cigar stuff going on down there too, and so I'm sure there's
It's a Disneyland of Italians, man.
yeah.
It's literally Disneyland of Italians. Yeah, I'm sure I know who the people are that you're talking about.
I'm sure of it. I'm sure they know too if they're watching. What up?
Yeah, that guy saw it. I mean,
you may find out soon in your feed. I'm just saying.
I mean, I don't know, John. I mean, I guess, again, same question to you. In your time, traveling around, like you said, you spend most of the year traveling around, going to events, functions, whatever. Even the trade shows, you guys go to the trade shows and all that. There's got to have been something, whether it was like a crazy purchase someone made, or even it was something wild like Nick just said, or someone just said something stupid, or they said something to the wrong person. I don't know.
There's so many ridiculous things that go on in short, small moments and then pass quickly
Yeah.
on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis. It's really hard to narrow it down to like one thing, and you kind of compartmentalize it in your brain. Like you have to take crazy things and kind of put them somewhere else. Like it's like the day-to-day work stuff. It's like what's your to describe your average day of work. It's kind of compartmentalized like that. So it's really hard for me to pick something that's just like exclusively nuts. I mean, I've got tons of wild stories.
What's your favorite story? Maybe that's a better way.
There's endless good ones. I mean, I've got funny, stupid. I have ridiculous things. I had a story one time. So Lito's out in Texas, and I had a sales rep out in Texas, and so they had an event. They were out the night before, so he had to take Lito to the airport the next day. And I'm not out in Texas. I'm in like New York or somewhere. So I get a phone call like 6 a.m. My rep calls me like 5 times, and I was like, I go, hey man, what's up? I'm in bed. He's like, I got a problem. I was like, okay, what? And he's like, I forgot to take Lito to the airport. And I said, dude, I go, I'm sleeping. I go, I don't even know how to respond to that. And I go, you're on your own. And I hung up. So like that for me was one that stands out that was so ridiculous. And I won't call the person out, and I'm sure it was an honest mistake.
I think I know who it was. I think I know who it was.
No? You don't know who it was.
Oh, okay.
But I couldn't grasp it. And that to me in my head was one of the ones that I always looked back at, and I was like, I just don't understand this. I can't grasp it. So that was like a crazy thing. Like in events, man, crazy stuff happens. Drunk people doing stupid things. The craziest thing I've ever seen was probably Nish Patel online showing his unit. That was probably the most awkward thing I've seen in the cigar industry. Just to be honest, that whole segment was awkward, man. So if you want the craziest thing, I never thought I'd watch soft porn on Facebook Live.
I get the feeling Nick didn't see that.
I was not on that one.
I saw it too. It was definitely intriguing. It was definitely intriguing.
Intriguing?
It's confusing.
Choice of words.
It's confusing to watch. Like, what's going on here? Well, I'm not going to get into it, but that wasn't the only thing that was going on. There was so many other things happening, and it was just like, I think
that was one of the wildest things I've seen in the cigar business. Like that's the type of thing that I would see at an event that like I'd be like, oh man, that's crazy, that's ridiculous. That's the type of stuff that you see. Like, so it's just that it's fleeting moments, and I'm sure I'll forget about that. But I'm sure Nick's the same way, man. It's just so many ridiculous things on a daily basis. I mean, it's absurd.
As you were telling me that, like one that went through my mind is having, like, I'm just sitting at our booth, like putting in these crazy weird orders that we have to put in a specific way. And all of a sudden, Karl Malone walks by and flips us off. And I'm like, what the hell was that about? And apparently one of our reps who resembles Charles Barkley was mistaken for Charles Barkley as he was walking by the booth that Karl Malone was at. And Karl was like, hey, what's up, Charles? And he's like, no, man, just like you, no rings. And he took that as a personal offense.
So that was obviously my friend Will.
My man.
Yeah, see.
And that was a memorable one, though, because I look up, I'm like, why is Karl Malone flipping us off?
What did we do?
I'm like, oh, back to work. Later I found out, I'm like, that's hilarious. I wish I'd have known.
It is time for the news. So we're going to hit our news segment really quick, Nick. Our news segment is brought to you by McAuliffe Cigars. Our friends over at McAuliffe, you can join the ambassador program today by heading to their website. And today we want to talk about something that I'm sure both of you, I don't think you guys are on this list from the little bit of research I did for this topic, but I'm sure you guys might have both something to say on it. But we'll start with our guests. We'll go with Nick first, if you want to, on behalf of Drew Estate, if you want to comment on this. So earlier this week, the news broke from the Premium Cigar Industry, the Premium Cigar Association show, PCA, that normally takes place in July. Obviously, it didn't happen this year, but for next year, several manufacturers have already announced they're going to be working on a PCA exclusive for the 2021 show, I guess, still, if it happens. The list is long. Arturo Fuente, Padron, Alec Bradley's on here, CLE, Crowned Heads, Illusion, JC Newman, Rocky Patel, and Tatuaje, I think, are the only ones so far that have said that, but which is, it's interesting stuff. The trade show is definitely a big time for exclusive. So is there anything that you know of or you can say? Is Drew Estate working on anything special for the show if it happens?
We were not going to attend this year, even if it did happen.
Right.
I don't. It's above my pay grade on why that decision was made, but
which is a whole nother story in itself. But yeah.
And on top of it, I'm pretty sure, I plan on being at the show next year if it goes on. I don't think it was some big split. I think it was just right now, this is what we were planning on doing.
Yeah.
So that's above my pay grade. I really don't know anything about that.
No, I figured it was worth asking. I think the same, question over to John Carney on behalf of La Flor Dominicana, which I know it's early. I know those manufacturers that, they still don't know if they're attending because they're just watching this situation. But John, is there anything you want to say on behalf of LFD in terms of the potential PCA show next year?
Yeah, we're planning on attending if there is a show and it's a full in-person type experience. Obviously, if there's guidelines that allow us to actually have full participation and have full consumer participation, that would be more ideal. But I think it's, up in the air about how it's going to go down. There were some challenges with this year's show anyway, despite, big four groups of manufacturers that, pulling out. There were still some challenges in it, and obviously COVID, ruined that. But so we plan on going. We're supporting the industry. It aligns with what we do as a company, as a really brick and mortar friendly. We're a small company compared to Drew Estate. Swisher makes more Swisher Sweets in one day than we make cigars all year. And then I'm sure that's almost the same
true,
thing.
That's true of Drew Estate too.
Yeah, so in 1 week, there's more Swishers out there than there are in their entire Drew Estate portfolio. So, you look at the size of that, you're small for them, we're small in general. So, for us, the trade show is obviously a big thing, a big part of what we do. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. And I think, we're going to find out a lot in the next 4 or 5 months where things go with that. So it's a quick thing to pivot on. You know what I mean? We already have all the trade show space. Some of our new releases are pushed back this year just because of production. So we already have products and things we're working on. So if it's a quick pivot either way, if the show doesn't go down, we'll it's too bad, and we'll adjust. And if it does go down, we'll adjust and be there.
Another good one, which I think is appropriate, is the Undercrown Sun-Grown Dojo Dogma arrives in stores
That's
this
true.
week, which is cool. Um, I know that and I mentioned before the Undercrown Sun-Grown is probably my favorite of the Undercrown line, so there is that as well. Nicole, did we have any other cigar news for the week? I think that was it. Yeah, I mean, kind of a slow week news-wise. I do know that the New York cigar tax increases was in the news a little bit this week. They're going to be going up 75% in the state of New York on cigars.
No, no,
Brutal.
no, 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 no. Nick, you want to go with that one?
No, because I don't have New York, so I don't know all the
So,
details of it.
so here's the details on that. Now, also, Matthew, please don't tell anybody what I was smoking because it was not good. So I'm switching over to something else.
Okay, sure,
So don't mention that
sure,
because I know you were thinking about mentioning it.
sure. Yep, sure.
Um,
That's all you have to say. No worries.
so the tax in New York. So this is where Carnonomics comes in. So whether McAuliffe likes it or not,
Well, Dan
they're
Thompson's
sponsoring
watching, so
they're sponsoring the Carnonomics news segment. So the tax in like 2011 in New York went from 40% to 75%. And over a period of time, to make a long story short, the state essentially settled with retailers on behalf of Davidoff. Essentially, was one that pushed this through on an industry average. So they were paying essentially it was like 26 or 28% overall tax, but the tax was still 75%. So what happened was the state of New York asked for rebates because the taxes were being paid differently. They were being paid wrong, essentially, on the wording. So the state gave them back money, which the state of New York doesn't like doing, and they reworded the law. So the law took out the loophole, essentially, changed and, or, if, and but, and all these different little letters and words, and then the tax rate essentially went away. So the tax has always been 75% there. It was just paid differently for premium cigars. So it's reverted back to that. So then instead of paying the settled amount, they're now paying fully 75%, which will be really interesting. They've been through it before. It's obviously not great for the retail brick and mortar side of it, but they have lived through it before, and good retailers persevere in any environment. But I wish that it wasn't 75%.
Right.
But that's the deal. So it didn't go to 75%. It was 70%, 75%. They just essentially reworded it. The state did. And now they're paying the full 75% rather than 40% of 75% or whatever the number was.
Ooh,
yeah,
so brutal.
it's either way, it's never fun to see taxes going up, and yeah, it's crazy. I think I saw earlier, and I don't have it in front of me. I'm sorry. I had it and now it's gone. I thought I saw really quickly that taxes were decreasing in California, but that didn't sound right. But I
That's
could have.
never happened.
Yeah, no, but I thought I saw that come across the
No way.
my notifications bar here, and it was on half wheel. So I was like, that doesn't seem right. But yeah, I can't really speak to that. I wanted to grab that and investigate that a little further, but I don't know why I lost it. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much what we got for news this week. Yeah, kind of a slow week for news, but I don't know. Sometimes no news is good news.
But hey, that Dojo Dogma is fantastic.
Yeah. I figured you'd like that. That was a good mention.
It's not my favorite size, but I actually really like that cigar.
Yeah. The I was mentioning to Nick before, the one size that you guys do that I really enjoy because I think it's fun is the flying pig, and you do it in Liga, you do it Undercrown. I was mentioning I have a Pappy Van Winkle flying pig, that I haven't smoked yet. I've held on to it for a while. Someone gave it to me like a year ago. It's been sitting in my like special collection box with all the other cigars. I'm like, I'm gonna save this, and they're all in there, I'm always like, oh, I want to smoke this, and then I'm like, I want to save it for. We were talking about this before the show, and this is where John's gonna come in and slap my hand on the air again and be like, you used up all the good conversation before the show again. So this happens every week.
Gold. It was gold, guys. It was gold.
So this
But
happens.
we also do that in the Kentucky Fire Cured, and if you go on the cigar safari, I've had a Herrera Esteli and a Swamp Thing
The Swamp
as
Thing.
a flying pig.
I don't think I've had a Swamp Thing.
The Swamp Thing's awesome. Tell us a little bit about it, because I smoked
So
it. It was
yeah,
recommended to me as a gateway to premium cigars for pipe smokers,
I
which
can
I
see
thought
that.
was really interesting.
I can see that because it's the burley tobaccos that we use and cure under Kentucky, like under hardwoods in the barns in Kentucky,
Yeah.
and we take that and we actually do a candela outer, and so the candela kind of tames the dryness of the fire cured tobacco, and it kind of it's a balance. It's a crazy balancing act. It's two wrongs that make a right.
That's interesting. I don't even think I've I don't think I've ever even seen that. So John, you've had it.
I've had a couple Swamp Things. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was in Chicago the first time I had it a few years back when it came out, and the shop owner, I look at him like, "Oh, that's ridiculous." And he goes, "What are you gonna try one, man? It's great." And I was like, "No, no." And he's like, "No, it's like pipe tobacco." He's like, "It's great for like pipe smokers, love it." And I'm like, "Really?" Because I asked him like, "Who's buying this?" And besides other people, it was trend. It had a lot of trendiness to it. Anyway, it's a really fantastic cigar. It was very aromatic. The fire cured with the candela, that grassiness with the cured nature kind of melded together. It was a good flavor. Had good flavor depth. It was a good cigar. I was pleasantly surprised by it. And the retailer was like, "It was good, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, you were right." He's like, "I told you. I told you."
It was better than I expected. But
See my
I
good
love a
smoke.
I lo- I
One thing I did smoke recently, though, was a collaboration, a Drew Estate collaboration with Crown Heads. It was
oh
La
yeah, yeah,
Coalition.
yeah.
That was a fantastic cigar. I don't know if that is associated with what you do, but again, it's something that that promotes the brand.
I don't personally sell it, but I love that cigar. It's a kick in the nuts, though. It's got some serious power behind it. It almost surprised me that Willie was involved at all because that's kind of not his wheelhouse.
I remember I was at IPCPR last year, and we were at the bar. We were at the Palazzo, and it was late. It was probably like 1 or 2 in the morning, and there was like a club ish thing, like an open club in the casino in the corner. And I remember a lot of the guys were in there hanging out, and everyone was smoking and drinking and shooting the shit and doing everything that goes on, after the show. And I remember going up to the bar and trying to get the bartender's uh, attention. And as I'm standing there, this like guy bumps into me, and I'm like, oh, I'm like kind of brush it off, and then I look again, I'm like, oh shit, it's Willie Herrera. No, that was cool. That was my
Biggest Cuban you've ever met.
yeah. And I was like, wow. You see these people like in magazines or online, and you see them in person, you're like, whoa. That's my Will Herrera story. It's not much. I haven't really had the Herrera Esteli. I think I might have had it one time. It's just one of those cigars that it's. I mean, I know it's in some of my local shops and stuff. I don't see a lot of it, and when I'm in there, I don't know. It doesn't really pop out to me, or I kind of glaze over it. But it's one of those ones that, yeah, like it's one that I've been wanting to try and kind of explore the whole collection, and I haven't yet. But it's a popular one. It's very popular. It it's it's a major cigar, major blend. A lot of people know it. A lot of people smoke it. Um, oh, my email going through there. Um, Tell me a little bit more about the Herrera Esteli blends.
So the Herrera Esteli blends, actually, the Habano Lonsdale is my favorite cigar that we make right now. Like I go through phases with it, but it's really just it's everything I want in a cigar. It doesn't matter what time of day. If I open up my case and there's nothing that jumps out that I really want,
Yeah.
that's my go-to every time because it's just such a dynamic smoke. I don't even really know what else to say about it except it's just great for any time.
And what's that? What's the price point on that cigar?
Um, Depends
roughly.
on where you're buying it and how much tax they're paying.
Yeah, no, I guess that's true. The taxes
In
will get you.
Massachusetts, it's right around 7 to 10.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's not bad. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a very friendly price point, I would say, for the average cigar smoker. Then you obviously you have the Liga Privadas, which, are much higher on the price scale, and then I would say your Undercrown's kind of in the middle there too.
yep.
It's not too high, if I remember correctly. And then there's
The
obviously
working man's Liga.
yeah, the Working Man's Liga, which looking at the band, so I'm smoking a number 9, and it's excellent. It's burning well, and I noticed the on the back of the band there is almost like the Undercrown looking logo there. What's the
Absolutely.
what's the connection there for those who don't know?
So for those who don't know, the Undercrown was born on our factory floor. Like it was a there was an issue where the wrapper leaf for the Liga Privada number 9 was in very, very short supply. And we went down to the floor and realized that they were all smoking it on the floor because they're allowed to smoke cigars that they roll while they're working. And
Hmm.
we were like, well, we got to cut that out because we actually don't have enough for market. So it kind of became an improvisation between the torcedores and the rollers, where they took something that we had a plentiful amount of, which was the San Andreas Maduro, and kind of made up. They still have the same binder, the Connecticut Habano binder in the Undercrown Maduro, but and the Brazilian and Nicaraguan fillers, but it's just a separate wrapper, and it made it that much cheaper.
Interesting. Yeah. No, it's I love hearing stories like that. Just how products come about, how they come to existence. The meaning behind the names and all that. It's interesting stuff. I'm that guy who likes all that information that most people wouldn't even care about. They just want to go and buy their cigar and leave, and just enjoy
Mhm.
it. But I like the information. That's my quirkiness. But yeah, no, you look at the bands, you look at the Liga Privada band. It's got that handwritten, almost that handwritten factory looking label of a band. I think it's interesting. It's definitely when I see it, I mean, not only do you know it's Liga Privada, but it definitely catches your attention because it's like that style just makes you think like, oh, like what is that? Why does it look like it's kind of like handwritten and all that? And it almost reminds me of some of the. I'm really into bourbon myself, so I drink a lot of bourbon. I drink a lot of allocator bourbons. And some of the bottles, like for example, the Blanton's bottle. Not a lot of people realize this, but if you actually look closely, the Blanton's bottle is the label is hand filled out on every bottle. It tells you the warehouse, what day the barrel was dumped. So it kind of reminds me of that, and I kind of like that real factory feel to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very cool. Like I'm into that. Like what's the term? Is it like kitschy? That like kitschy kind of thing.
Hey, I'm into
Um,
it too.
yeah, like I like that. I like that stuff. Not like and other brands have the bands or whatever, and that's cool, and I like that. And everyone kind of has their own style going. LFD, no BS. John's on the show, but no BS. LFD has some cool bands.
Absolutely.
You look at you look at the Andalusian Bulls, the Avocado, the Knox. A lot of cool design elements go into that. The Liga Privada, that's another one. That band is very intriguing to me. It's very cool looking, very factory looking, and that's something that I really enjoy. From the aesthetic point of view, which is interesting. Sometimes you see cigar bands that are just kind of generic, and as much as you don't want to band shop, you see those and you kind of glaze over them because they just don't grab you, And Liga's definitely one where it grabs you when you see it in the case, you see it in the box. Um,
And
yeah,
I think that's one of the problems that came about when we had like the Chateau Real, which I personally loved, but I found out too late because by the time I fell in love with that cigar, we had already started to put the bullet in it. But I feel like the band kind of took away from how good that cigar was because it looked kind of stereotypical.
yeah.
It looked like every other band that was on the market.
So if you follow me on social media, you've probably seen I had a post, and I want to make this clear, especially with Nick on the show. I did not make this post trying to knock a Liga or any Drew Estate at all. But I had an issue with a cigar, and I only posted it. And again, not to knock anyone, but I just found it so peculiar because the issue that I had is such a rare issue. At least for me personally, it's only ever happened to me twice. But I actually had a hole burn past the burn line in the side of the cigar, like probably like about here. And it was in a number 9, and if it was about a week or so ago, and I know, Nick, you saw it, we've talked about it. But you actually told me something interesting that I've actually never heard, and maybe more companies do it, but I actually haven't heard of this. So you had told me, so Drew Estate has almost like a customer service line center
Absolutely.
through email, where if you have an issue with your cigar, you can submit, the photos and the information on that, and you guys will actually work to replace those.
Absolutely.
Which I thought
Absolutely. I
which I
mean,
thought
it's
was really interesting.
well, I mean, you're spending your hard-earned money on it. Like, we should back that
Yeah.
100%. I mean, now it's not going to be every single cigar that burns improperly because that's just irrational and almost impossible
Mhm.
because we can't maintain everybody's humidors everywhere. But, just if it's something that's obviously a factory issue, first off, we need to know about it for our own quality control because that happens all the time. I mean, John knows enough about it to know.
I
Like,
am that department at my company.
so you can't fix what you don't know about,
Yeah.
and when you hear nothing, no news tends to be good news. You don't always get praise for well-rolled cigars, you get to sell more.
Yeah.
It's when someone has an issue that we're like, hey, I was like, hey, wait, before that goes super far, bad news travels way faster than good. So I'm like, we do have this resource and these people you can get in touch with to replace it and to do right because it's your money. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not trying to steal anybody's money. We're not trying to put an inferior product out there. If it's not to quality, let's fix it.
Yeah. I mean, and
Did people give you a hard time, Matt, about posting that picture?
no, 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 no one actually.
Oh, good, because I want names.
Yeah, no, no. Honestly, no one gave me a hard time, but I just wanted to be clear,
I
just
did.
just in case, anyone took it the wrong way. No, it wasn't like in
You
in
know,
a knocking
you know
kind of
what's
way.
interesting? Whenever I see stuff like that, the first thought in your head is like, when I first started seeing stuff like that, was like, way to be a dick and like try to throw me under the bus, right? But I don't look at it that way anymore. If somebody if they post something like that and then they're obviously being a jerk, we're like, oh, this is crappy quality. This is like, which
Yeah.
you did, which was none of your side, Matthew, at all.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. Like, if there's gonna be issues. This is a natural product. It's a dry leaf. There's gonna be issues with it, and the cigar was drying and tasting good. It just had a good little minor construction issue. That's fine, and that's a good thing to educate on. When people post stuff and they're trying to get a rise out of someone, that's what bothers me. But posting to educate and things, and by the way, as I said, all of our companies, you're trained on it. I train my people on it. I'm trained on it. Hey, I want the feedback because really what it does is you get to go and say to your factory supervisor, say, hey, look at this. We need to be more on top of this. We need to be in a better situation. It's almost a positive thing.
Oh,
You know,
100%.
This is actually,
now you don't have to go share it again.
but no, I pulled up the post specifically, just just to reread it again, and yeah, it was more just so talking about it. Yeah, it happened to be a Liga, but it wasn't because it was a Liga. I'm still gonna smoke it. I don't think anything less of it because that happened. That could have happened. That's happened to me one other time with another major brand, and I still like that particular cigar and that brand, and I'll still smoke it. Has nothing to do with them. I know shit happens. I know that that's just part of it. I more so posted it for for the educational purposes of like, oh, look at this. This is like something that's not very common. Like, has this ever happened? But Nick saw it and was like, "Hey, like we want to get on that. We want to make that right for you," which I really appreciated. And there's been times where I run into reps. I know a lot of reps in the area, and I'll tell them like, "Hey, like I'm just being honest with you. There was one particular time I was with a certain rep. I'm not gonna mention any names or any brand names, but I said, yeah, I'm like, there's one cigar that you guys have in the line, and I always loved it, but for like the last year or so, I don't know, the taste has just been off, and I just don't enjoy smoking it anymore." And that person was like, well, thank you for telling me. Like, it's nice to hear that stuff because we can send that back and be like, we have people saying that like this blend doesn't taste the same anymore, like, and now they don't want to smoke it anymore. And that's, kind of like what you were saying, like you want to know those things because you want to know if you're losing a customer because something's not right, and you have to revisit that and see if something
Yeah,
has to be
absolutely.
fixed or something has to be changed. And John, I'm sure it's happened to you where someone said, hey, like, and this is in no way specifics. This is all just for example. Like if someone called and said, hey, the 700 Maduro like doesn't taste the same anymore. I don't like it anymore. It's now I find it's changed. I don't want to buy it anymore. What happened? Why does it taste different? That's information you can take and be like, all right, so now this person said they smoked it all the time and now they don't want to smoke it anymore because it's changed. And of course you have to take into consideration, did their palate change? Is it them? And did their taste change? And Nick, and we were talking about this just not too long ago. Is well, it's funny how your taste changed. Did their taste change or did the product change? But either way, you got to investigate that product and make sure that you know there is not an inconsistency, at least on your
Well,
end.
and on top of it, you got to realize these are plants.
Yeah,
Not every plant from every year is going to be the exact same plant. It's not like we have exact clones of the perfect tobacco plant. These are individual leaves off individual plants grown in separate years, often years apart. So to sit there and assume that it's going to be the exact same every single time is it's laughable almost.
yeah. I mean, John,
You
like,
know, and I get that expectations are here, but you also kind of have to be a little flexible with that.
and John, you can kind of attest this in kind of a non-cigar way. You're obviously really into wine, and I know, especially in the wine community,
Well,
as like,
I'll tell you, I
well,
got a
hold
good
on.
story on
Well, hold
this.
on,
Yeah,
hold
go
on,
ahead.
hold on,
Sorry.
hold on. Let me make this point first, and then I'll let you go. But like I know a lot of people who are into wine who will say like, for example, the like Stag's Leap, for example. Not because it was Stag's Leap, but that's a bottle I recently enjoyed. Um, someone will say, hey, I really like the Stag's Leap cap, but not the 2016. I liked the 2017, the 2018, but the 2016 was a bad year for the grapes or whatever, and the taste was off. It almost can be said the same thing about the tobacco. The tobacco from a certain year just wasn't a good crop. You can't help it. It's like you said, it's natural. It grows
Well,
out
it
of the
doesn't mean it's
ground.
not good. And then sometimes these vintage, so wine's a vintage product. They put the vintage on it. And they wouldn't say that about Stag's Leap because 17 and 18 wasn't that good. It was more like 14, 13, and
No, no,
12
no,
were
no,
good.
no. And again, that's not.
But
It's just for
but
example
the
purposes.
but the but with vintage crops and vintage products like wine, it's a reflection of what was going on the farm in the vineyard at that period of time. And that's where aging and fermentation in the bottle and like sitting and aging wines, they can really mature that flavor profile. And like a 2017 is young, and it might not be great right now, but in 10 years it may be phenomenal. It may drink even better than that, the best year they had in the farm. So I had this situation this one time. So we have the LG line, which is Dominican Puro, wrapper, binder, filler, all Dominican, and it's a vintage crop. It's a vintage product. So I had this back and forth discussion with this guy one time, and I totally get it, but he didn't grasp that it's a vintage crop. He's like, the LG, he goes, you guys changed it. And I'm like, we haven't changed the LG. It's Dominican wrapper, Dominican binder, Dominican filler, same strains, everything, same recipe. And Pete Johnson did this with the La Veritis or La Verite or La Verite. I think Verite.
Verite.
So I said, we haven't changed anything. He's like, well, it tastes different than last year's. And I was like, exactly. I go, it's a vintage crop. And he's like, well, why can't you make it taste the same? I go, if we made it taste the same, it wouldn't be a vintage crop. I go, it's a reflection of what was going on in the farm that year. There could have been more sunlight, so the cigars are going to be stronger. There could have been less sunlight, more rain, so that the leaves weren't as thick. We still try to pick the best leaves to make it as close as possible because you want to create a signature for your vintage and for your farm or your vineyard. So you want to have signature flavor profiles. But I went back and forth with this person for like a month, back and forth. And I finally said, I totally respect where you're coming from. I go, it's a vintage product. It was just like wine. I go, now we could take the vintage off and make those other blends. And there you could go and smoke maybe some of our other cigars that aren't a vintage crop. A DL700 is not a vintage crop. An Undercrown is made to try to taste. It's made to a flavor profile. We're going to make it taste like this as best as possible and get as close to that as we can. But when you have vintage products, it is what it is. That's the
100%.
year. Those are
Yeah.
the grapes. That's the tobacco, and this is what was representative of our farm that time.
It's funny that you brought up the wines part because I was doing a wine tour when I was in Australia. and the winery had this unlabeled bottle that they brought out like at the end of the tasting. And I'm getting about half hammered at this point, but he's like, since you've been on wine tours before, I assume, since you seem to know basically all that I'm teaching you, I really wanted you guys to try this. It's something that we can't sell and it can't leave here. And he poured this glass of white wine that was just smoky as hell. It was almost like a scotch and a wine made love. It was so good. And I wanted to bring like 8 bottles back. And I'm like, you sure you can't sell it to me under the table? Like, you can't just sneak it out to me. He's like, nope, none of it can leave this facility. And he's like, do you know why it tastes like that? I'm like, I have no idea. Did you age it in a scotch barrel? And he's like, no, we had a forest fire. And it infected all the grapes, and all the grapes just tasted like fire. It was unbelievable. I loved it, but
Yeah.
Wow.
it was definitely not for everybody's palate. They probably
That's how
couldn't
the
sell it.
environment affects things. That's the same thing in cigars. So when you have vintage crops, cigars that change are because they're using the same recipe. Cigars that don't change as much are because they're blending towards a flavor profile rather than towards, a recipe of this many leaves of this and that. And it's a constant working, and that's where consistency in the cigar business comes from, and the true mastery, and really the chef side of it. That's what makes like Willie Herrera excellent at what he does as a master blender is his palate. It's not putting tobacco together, because we can all do that.
Yeah,
Is what matters. Is I made this Herrera Esteli, or I made this Lennox, and I got to make sure that I understand what this needs to taste like all the time, and how to create something to make it taste like that. So that's the real mastery and the real chef side of tobacco and premium cigars, is, in my opinion.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we often use the alcohol and tobacco comparison a lot, on the show and on different topics and stuff. And it is similar. It's not the same, obviously. Obviously, cigars and alcohol are different. You know, you can get more specific. Wines and whiskeys are different, but the processes are similar. But it's aging, it's fermenting, but again, yeah, I mean, it's different specifics. You have grapes, and then you have mash bill with whiskeys, and tobacco leaves and plants, all from different regions and different types of climates and all that too. There's a lot of different factors. Obviously, you can't really compare them one for one, but yeah, the process is very similar. I think that's why I like cigars so much. Like I was saying before, I like the science behind things. Not just cigars, like anything. I like the science behind it. I like to know, like, why is it the way it is, not just like, okay, cool. And I think that's why I got so into cigars, and then I got really into whiskey, and like now I'm getting into wine. There's a similar pattern there, and I love it, and I love learning about different brands and stuff, and and the method to their madness, and how things are. And now I've spent a lot of time getting into wine with John, personally, in our free time, going over, different wines that, he's introduced me to, and telling me a little bit about the wineries and just stuff like that. And then I have another friend, and I get, really into whiskeys and bourbon with him, and we talk a lot about, well, this one has this mash bill, and then the mash bill and this is different, and and this one came from a barrel from this warehouse with, it's funny, you get into whiskeys, and it's like, and Nick, I don't know if you're a whiskey guy, but
Of course.
yeah.
I'm a booze guy. I like it all.
So it's funny. You talk to people, and it's like, well, it's funny because like this particular bottle was from this year, and I remember, like they'll know, I'll have these conversations with people that know some information. I'm like, well, this particular year, the barrels were on the top floor of the warehouse, and so there was more heat, and so it tasted this way. And then this year, the barrels were like on the second floor, and it was much cooler, so the flavor is different in a much different way because the mash was a lot cooler while it was in the barrel. And then this bottle is, even though it's like the same, it could be, A and A, but A 2017 and A 2018 release are totally different because maybe the barrels were in different parts of the warehouse, and the temperatures of when it was in the barrel were different, and just the evaporation loss inside the barrel is different. There's so many different factors that come into it, and when you get the final product, even though like it's the same bottle, the mash comes from different years, and the way that it was barreled was different each year, and maybe it was in different locations, and that can change the whole thing year to year. Yeah, I love that stuff. It's for me, it's interesting, and I always try to tie it into cigars because I mean, not only do they pair well, but like I said, the industries are so similar. Um, so that's my take on some science, I guess. That could be a segment in itself. The sciences, Matt's science corner. We have Carninomics. We have the science corner. We have our news segment, and we're almost. I'm not sure what time it is. What time is it? It's past 9, so we're in the overtime period. So I think Nick,
Like a good playoff game should get.
we're gonna hit our sports segment in a minute, but first, I'd love to introduce you to my favorite part of the show, and that is the soap review segment. If John's ready for it, look at how fast he's like, it's go time, it's game time. Look at him, he just gets right up. He's like, oh, I've been waiting for
Uh-oh.
this.
Uh-oh.
It's our favorite part of the week. It's the soap review segment, John Carney's soap review. It's an unsponsored segment, so it's up for grabs if anyone's out there watching. It could be brought to you by Drew Estate.
Here we go.
Carney's soap
So
review.
today we've got the Wild Honey. This is brought to us. This is another Agnes soap. So this is brought to our friend Agnes. This is Castelbel Porto. So this is another Portuguese soap. So we're staying in Europe with the Agnes soaps. This is fragrance soap made in Portugal. Net weight 300 grams. So this is a 300-gram bar. Let's read some ingredients here. It's wild honey fragrance, and it does have a little opening on the side so you can smell it. Not super strong. Honey's not a strong scent when it's not.
I don't want to interrupt, but you might want to take the background filter off because we can't see any of that.
Oh, you're going to want the background filter on. Trust me.
Fair enough.
So this here is, I said, that little scent there. Honey's not a very strong scent when it's not in form of honey. So I've noticed that with some other scents that I've had and other bars of soap, hand creams, different things like that. But here's the ingredients: sodium palmate, sodium palm kernelate, agua, also known as water, parfum, fragrance, glycerin, sodium chloride, DHT, testosterone, I think that's what it's called, testosterone or tetrasodium, benzyl salicylate, gurnahol, hexyl cinnamonyl, limonene, and linalool. Lots of O's, lots of L's, and so yeah, we're not in the craft soap world with this one, folks. So no craft soap. This is a soap company. This is nice though. I like this packaging. It's kind of it's like cardboardish. It's nice. It's like a little package inside. The soap is in a. This might be why I couldn't smell as much. It's in kind of like a tissue paper. This is a pretty big block. Check this out. This is a big cake of soap.
John, if I may, really quick, because it is
the
soap.
size of my arm.
It's soap related.
Soap.
I noticed there's a lot of fine soaps that come out of England that all seem to be around that same shape, same size, and they're wrapped. And the packaging is the same. And I always notice it's those luxury British soaps.
Yeah, this is not a craft soap. I would say this is more of a mass-produced type soap, but it is European. This would be, for me, again, this falls under like the holiday soap category. Unique packaging, nice, made as like a gift, stocking stuffer type thing. Can never go wrong with it. It's something that you put in like your guest restroom, so people wouldn't be disappointed. But it's not super oily. Now, the things that I said in there, this is not like craft soaps. Craft soap's got a lot of essential oils in it. So I don't think this is going to be oily. I think this is going to be rather astringent with the sodium palmates and different other sodiumates that were in there. So let's get a little warm water going here. I do like to take my finger on it and test out my fingernails. Again, not greasy at all, not very slippery. Let's see what happens when we get water added. But we'll get the hands wet here. We're back in Miami, so we're in the Miami bathroom. Immediately upon putting water on the soap, it has come alive. It is slippery. This is a good soap. This is already better than Agnes's first soap we had there, which was the car themed one. I can't remember the name of it. It got a low score, and Agnes was upset. I think this is going to score better. The smell on this is good. It smells soapier than honey. It's more of it's like a mild Dove soap. But Good coverage. No froth, no bubbles, just straight up astringency here. Not super greasy. The fragrance is not very strong. It is, once it's getting hot water here in the sink, we are getting a lot of bubbles in the bottom of the sink. I'm using probably about an 8 on the scale of temperature of water, an 8 out of 10 on temp. Man, very clean. Very, very clean. Not a strong scent after. It's a mild soap smell. I'm getting 0 honey out of it. Wow. So I'm a big craft soap fan, Nick. So craft soaps really get me going. I'm a member of a craft soap club called the Outlaw Soap Company. I've been a big fan of those. Those are the ones that have been scored the highest for us. Last week we had a 7.9. I think we've had an 8. We haven't had an 8 yet. But this one here, we've got from Portugal, the Wild Honey by Castabel Porto Soaps. I'm going to go 6.2. It's a good soap. This is a holiday soap. This is a stocking stuffer soap. This is a soap that you would use in a guest restroom for parties. I will bathe with this soap, so if anyone runs into me and wants to ask what I thought of it, I will bathe with it this evening. But it's a good soap. It's clean. My hands feel good. I feel like I still have some grip on my hand. There's no residual. That's from the glycerin and the sodium that's in there. So yeah, good soap. 6.2. 6.2. Good soap. I like it. I'm gonna use this one. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to keep this here, and I'll wash my hands with that this weekend. And I said I will bathe with that tonight. That'll make my skin feel nice and tight. 6.2.
6-2. It's a fair score. Let him get set back up.
Back to cigars.
This is the first time I've ever heard a soap review, so I like it.
Yeah, this is the magic that John brings to the show every week. It's definitely the soap review.
I think I'd score better on that than our trivia.
So Nick was part of that must have been like May.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a cigar shop, a chain of cigar stores and tobacco shops in Maine called Cigar and Smoke Shop, Cigarette Shopper. And they wanted to do like a little thing for some of their people on their Facebook page. So there must have been 7 or 8 of us on the call. And there's really no format to the call. and I knew there was no format going into the call. So I had made up a bunch of different formats and things to do. So we played trivia. So we played state trivia, where you were from. And I don't know if you scored well. I don't sure if you didn't score well. I just didn't stand out that you did score well. And I don't think anyone scored well except the people from Maine, because I was the one administering the trivia. So
I didn't do great on the New England trivia because I'm a transplant. So
Nick,
I was like,
where are you originally from?
I was born in Montana but raised in Colorado.
Oh, interesting. Nice. And when did you come out here to do the New England area?
About 3 years ago. A little bit over 3 years ago.
Nice. And we're gonna maybe we're gonna sashay this in, but I'm gonna start it this way. So you obviously are a hockey fan. So we do have a sports segment coming up very soon, and I noticed you have the hockey sticks on the wall. Earlier in the quarantine, you were doing some lives, and I noticed you're rocking some jerseys. So I think with that, I think it's time to get into our sports segment, and that's going to be brought to you by Nova Cigars. Platinum Nova, make Nova big. And you can now go to novacigar.com and you can use our own code, which is SMKTAB15, and you can receive 15% off your order. So go ahead and check them out if you haven't had them before. Great cigars. Use the code again. That's SMKTAB15. If you're watching at home, it's up on your screen. They're also running a special right now on their website for October, and our code also applies to this as well. They're running a cigar sampler promo for $125. It's normally $169, and that includes some of their more exclusives, and that actually is eligible for our discount code as well, and it brings it right around $106. So it's a great opportunity. Use the code, get a great sampler for a great price at novacigar.com. With that, I think the first thing I want to talk about, especially when we have Nick on the show, big hockey guy, Tampa Bay Lightning win the Stanley Cup. I thought it was interesting. They've been playoff contenders for the last couple of years. I've seen them coming through. They've lost to the Bruins, but they've made it.
And
They've
tough
made it all the
fought
way.
losses though. They took it to 7 several times with the Bruins, and they
Yeah,
were fun games to watch. So
yeah.
I
I
was
mean,
enjoying the hell out of that.
they definitely have a good team. They've had a good team, but this year, even with everything going on, they made it to the end. They've got the cup. They won. Definitely a different experience watching that championship be won. No fans and
Tampa Bay winning in Edmonton.
yeah, it's very strange. I mean, the cup was awarded north
Against
of the
Dallas.
border. Yeah, very strange, but nevertheless still cool. So hey, the Bruins were looking really good in this season. Then the virus happened and hockey was put on hold, and then you know the bubble and all the new rules came into effect, and then the Bruins just seemed like they picked up kind of sloppy, and then you know, then they were down pasta, and then Tuukka Rask decided to opt out, and now there's news actually that I was reading saying Don Sweeney has made it, known to other clubs that Tuukka Rask is available for trade.
Not a smart move.
Not a smart move, but it's also, for me, it's not really a surprise. I feel like he's kind of put himself in that position where I think that he can be unreliable or looked upon as unreliable. It's not the first time he's definitely stepped away when the teams needed him. But yeah, I think I kind of saw it when that happened. Reading, the few days before, Tuukka Rask was talking about he didn't like the bubble and the mentality of it and the no fans and all that. And then 2 days later, he's opting out because of a family emergency. Oh, how convenient, Tuukka Rask.
Which might have been his problem with it. I mean, I don't know what was going on. I
Yeah.
really don't. But to me, a family emergency is always an excuse, and it's always a fair excuse.
Mhm.
Because I mean, who knows if you're not there to take care of your child, like how bad would you feel if that child ends up dying? Like you wouldn't.
It's true.
I wouldn't put that on anyone. So to me, I don't know the details of it, and I don't know that we'll ever know the details of it. But to me, I think if they rashly get rid of Tuukka Rask, they're going to regret it.
I think so too. I think Tuukka Rask gets a bad rap from people, and he get.
He brought you guys your first Stanley Cup in how long?
I mean, and
And was stellar every year since.
yeah, and
Well, Thomas got the first Stanley Cup in forever.
Yeah, that's true.
Tuukka
And
was the backup at that year.
Tuukka dealt with him after because he was old and he had to retire. So yeah, but I'm a Tuukka fan, and I'm the same way with you. It's like the league gave them the option if they wanted to opt out.
Hmm.
So if you had the option to opt out and he wasn't into it and he had stuff going on, maybe he should opt out. But you know how Boston media is in the sports, there's definitely a lot of pressure that comes with it, and deservedly so. It's a high profile position, so that's going to have some of that, and I think that plays a little bit of role into it. But I also think his attitude, throughout the year was a little more challenging, and for whatever reason, their job is to put the best hockey team on the ice as possible and have everybody seem excited about it and provide entertainment. So that's challenges and personal stuff does get into it, but it's it's a loveless business in reality. It's at the end of the day, it's putting the best
tough.
player on the, it's trying to appease everything. So I'm not surprised that they're floating that around. I'm just saying, if they trade him, they better sure as hell get something for it.
Fact.
Yeah, I would agree. He's definitely valuable. So if they trade him, I mean, if you're gonna do it, get something. I mean, don't give him away. He definitely
But
has value.
I think that's the problem, though, is when you jump out there screaming about, well, he's for sale, like you sound desperate to get rid of him. And why would anybody pay the top dollar for that?
That's true too. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, I think.
I mean, even as a rental player, even if he goes for 1 year and wins a Stanley Cup, how bad will they feel about it?
I mean, I still think personally, I think that they can win a cup with Tuukka Rask, but You know, and I know there's people out there who disagree and they're like, no, we got to get rid of him. No, he sucks. No, he lost us 13 in last year to the Blues. And
These are the same guys that bitch about Tom Brady constantly when he was winning every game but three. He loses one game and they bitch about him. Trade him
Yeah.
now. Come on.
Oh,
Get
it's
out of
just,
here
and
with
it's the
that.
same people that complained and bitched about them bringing in Cam Newton. No, Cam Newton's this. He's a problem. Cam Newton was the best player in football 3 years ago.
Yep.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, let the guy play. Well, I don't like him personally. Have you ever met? Like, I have conversations with. I've met Cam. He's a good guy. I like where his head's at. He's saying
Owns a
the
cigar
same
shop.
things. Yeah, he's saying the same things to the media that he says behind the scenes. Like this, that when people are saying on both sides, that's who they really are. I mean, he's saying the right stuff, and that's what he means. That's who he's become as a person. But those people that complain about it, it's like you don't know these people. We don't know what it is. Yeah, we have the right to have an opinion. But I think he's definitely getting a bad rap. But if that's what's best for business, that's what's going to be best for business.
Yeah.
So I said, if they make the move, it just better be good for the team.
I've
think
also heard them floating Tory Krug out there and floating a lot of people out there. So I wonder if it's a cap space issue that they're looking at right now. They have those young kids still locked up, which is a great core. So I'd be interested to see what actually flies there.
yeah, I mean, there's definitely there's a lot of good players on that team. They definitely have a nice lineup, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what next year brings. I mean, you look at David Pastrnak. I mean, he led the league in goals this year, and
No, he didn't.
he didn't. I thought he did.
Leon Draisaitl did.
Oh, what was I thinking of then? Maybe it was the beginning of the year. I remember
Maybe last year he
Yeah,
might have.
after game one, he led the league in goals because there's only one team to play.
I thought it was him. Well, that was my bad. But no, I remember he maybe it was last year then. I remember him having like a really good year.
He's
Um,
had phenomenal years ever since he stepped in, man. That kid is phenomenal.
yeah. I mean, he's definitely a partier though. I could see how there was
Good for him. If I was that age and that talented, I would
Like
be too.
that's what happened. Like Tyler Sagan. Like Tyler Sagan had to leave Boston. Like they won the Stanley Cup. Him and Marshawn were partying every single night. Sagan was like 21 years old, making like $8 million, and like they traded him because he was a melting. It was like a powder keg. Like he was gonna ruin his life and just explode. And the people were like, oh, Sagan's this. He had to leave, and they had to send him to Dallas. And now he's been a perennial All-Star, and he's a
And he
great player.
made the finals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's a great player. And I'm like, it'd be great to have him. If he'd stayed in Boston, his career slope would have been completely downhill.
I could see that.
Kid just had to leave town. So it's just the aging process and maturity, I guess, for that stuff. But they're a good team, man. The Bruins were good. Problem with hockey for me, not this year, is like everybody makes the playoffs. There's like two teams that don't. So you get to a point now where, for me, when you make the regular season less relevant, I get less enthused about the sport.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I see what you're getting
Like
at there.
the bubble for football and the bubble for hockey were two of the best things for those sports. Now, basketball had its challenges with some social justice type things, which I think rubbed some people the wrong way. Hockey was very much away from that. But that bubble was great for hockey. It was fun to watch. It was awesome. Every night was entertaining.
Yep.
The game was better. The game was faster. The players were fresher, less travel. It was just a really great product too. And we didn't
It was fun as hell to watch.
I was big on the basketball bubble, but I mean the bubble for hockey was a big success, and I think they need to in next season kind of continue on and take some things that were successful about that.
I think you're right. I think that this whole experience across all of them, all the sports, and the things that they've had to do in these circumstances, it makes you think like when everything is more normal again someday, whenever that is, if it's next year or a couple years from now, whatever it is, that they're gonna start their regular normal life seasons again. It's going, well, you know what? Remember that quarantine and the bubble, and we had to do this and that. That worked. We could apply that to this and maybe improve the game quality. I think it was definitely a good learning experience for all of the leagues to try out some things and see what works and see what doesn't, especially in those circumstances where they kind of were forced to do things outside of the norm. Um, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if any of the strategies that were enacted, if it, kind of get you know, pick and choose there, and try to use that to enhance the regular flow of the seasons.
Yeah, I don't know. This screwed the whole season though to me because it's like now when do they start next season? Because this is when they're ramping up to start next season.
Well, no, that's true actually. And I believe are they starting in January? They're gonna start the regular
I
season.
don't I don't know.
So
I
the
don't
I
know.
thought
NBA,
that's what I had heard, but
the NBA is in their finals right now. So the finals will be over in 3 more games because the Lakers are going to sweep the Heat.
They,
Um,
they lost me after the Nuggets were taken out.
yeah, so I'm a Celtics fan. So I was, as soon as the Celtics were out, I was personally upset, but I still love basketball. But the NBA season starts in early December. They start their training camp, and it's going to like a couple weeks, and they're into the season, and they're going to be playing. Their plan is to play in their own arenas. So the bubble thing will be different, and then the NBA is going to do something which I think would be cool for hockey too. Baseball does this. We have like a 3-game series. You go to town, you play for a couple days. The NBA has been throwing around the idea of having, say, like the Heat go and play Boston, and they play Boston. They get there on Friday. They get there Thursday. They play Friday. They stay in town Saturday. They play Sunday. Then they go somewhere else and do the same thing. So you're in town for a couple days, and you get to see the same team. I think that would be exciting, and I think that would be a unique thing. So I think the NBA is going to have a unique, because they're going to kick off. They're going to tip off before the other sports do for the second season, which would have already started with hockey, basketball, and everything. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that, and hockey will be another fun one to watch.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
hockey's almost year-round anyway, to me. Like the season ends in June or July, end of June, middle of June, and then it kicks back off again. They drop the puck in like August. So it's like year-round practically. So I think hockey will be, whenever they start it, it's going to work out fine, and they'll run the seasons into each other if they have to.
yeah, I mean, baseball, we didn't really talk a lot about on the show this year. Specifically, the Red Sox wasn't really a good season. I think that's really all we can say about that. I haven't even.
The Rockies.
Normally, I do follow baseball like very hard. Even if like the Red Sox are not in, like I do follow the postseason. I like postseason baseball. That's been my thing. I mean, growing up, I obviously being around a major league team. I haven't even I haven't even looked at anything. I haven't even followed it, watched a single thing. Like I don't even know what's going on right now. I don't know what the format is. I don't know what the rules are. I heard they're maybe gonna let some of the fans in for the championship series games. Like I want to say like 20%. I think they said they're gonna maybe allow, but like I don't know. Was disappointed with baseball this year. As soon as the season didn't start and the whole contract thing and the prorated salary, I don't know.
Baseball sucks. The game's boring. It sucks. It's not made for television. It's made to be watched in person. However, the best thing that happened in sports this week happened in our guest Nick's, one of his hometowns of Denver, Colorado, where the Denver Broncos filled the stadium with the residents of South Park.
Yes, they did.
And I believe that episode, the pandemic episode, aired this evening. I don't know, I think it was celebrating the 30 years or something. But in the stands, they had all of the residents of South Park with cardboard cutouts in the stands. It was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. I loved it.
Yeah, I did see that, and that was funny. I remember seeing that news article that pop up.
Sadly, it's not the best thing that the Broncos can put out there at the moment.
That was
also accurate.
That was really funny.
Yeah, I'm realistic.
Actually, aren't the Broncos playing the Bucks? Is it this week or next week?
It might be this week.
I think it's
I think it's this week.
I think it's this week, so that'll be interesting. I don't know. I find myself for different reasons. I find myself following Tom Brady in the Bucks Not because I'm one of those people from New England who's like, okay, I'm a Bucks fan now because Tom Brady went there. For me, it's just more the curiosity. Like, I want to see like how well he does do somewhere else. How far does this go? And for me, it's intriguing. And then I'm gonna still follow the Patriots because regardless of who the starting quarterback is, that's still my team. Yeah, Tom Brady fan. Grew up with Tom Brady around, but at the same time, I'm not gonna like abandon the Patriots because he went to Tampa Bay, and I know there's a lot of people that did, and it's almost like, oh, okay, well, I'm a Tampa Bay Bucks fan now because Tom Brady went there. All right, so when he retires in like a year or two, because inevitably he will run out of time, it's gonna happen, and he is not in the league anymore. Are you gonna stay a Tampa Bay Bucks fan? Or are you like a temporary bandwagon Tampa Bay fan for like the remainder of Tom Brady's career, and then you're gonna come back to New England and be like, well, he's gone now, so I can be a Patriots fan again?
Well,
So like for me, yeah.
does that
No,
make
go
you
ahead, Nick.
does that make you a bandwagon Tampa Bay fan, or does that just make you a Tom Brady fan?
Well, that's what I was just about to say that. Like, what this showed to me is the first day of football. I was like, I was excited for the Patriots. I'm a Cam Newton fan, have been, so I was excited for that when I watched him. But I was also excited to see how I was going to react when I saw Brady playing with the Bucks. I really don't care about the Bucks. I like Brady. What he did for New England is he's the GOAT. I like seeing him still play. It's great for the game. I'm fired up, man, when the Patriots are playing. I'm excited. And then when the Bucks game's on, it's like, oh, cool, I'm going to watch this and pay attention to it. So I'm a Tom Brady fan, Patriots fan first, big Tom Brady fan. I want the Super Bowl to be Patriots versus Bucks, and I want the Patriots to absolutely embarrass Tampa Bay. Like, I just want the Patriots to crush them. That's how I felt. Like that kickoff, I was like, man, I'm a Pats guy. I always knew I was, and I was intrigued. You said it. I was intrigued, Matthew, to see Brady play. But I don't care if they win or lose, which has been the most comforting thing on the planet, is to not watch Tom Brady and care if he wins and loses. Because I'll be honest, his style of football is great. It's just really methodical. Cam Newton's a more fun player to watch. It's
I
more
agree.
dynamic. And when I watch that offense, I'm fired up to watch it. I'm not stressed. I'm excited. And maybe that's because expectations were set so high with Brady that now my expectation, if he just does anything good and the team wins, I'm happy. So it's been a really different feeling for me watching the Patriots. It's more relaxing. I'm less stressed. And when I watch Brady, it's no stress. It's just enjoying watching somebody play who I've watched my whole life.
I could see that. I was curious. I posted it right when he got traded. I'm like, so how many of my Patriots fans are still Patriots fans? And man, the woodworks. I was like, ooh, I started a fire.
It's like I remember watching like as soon as they were available, like everyone that I know like from around here who I know is like a hardcore Patriots fan, like I started seeing all these people posting photos of a Tampa Bay Brady jersey, and they're like, I got one, and I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool. I didn't know how to feel about it. I'm like, sorry, all right, so what are you saying? Like, it's because you like Tom Brady, you gotta have the jersey, or is it because like, all right, no, like I'm a Tampa Bay fan, I got the jersey now, like I'm set, I've moved on to the next life of I live in the cold Massachusetts. I'm a diehard Massachusetts guy, but I'm a Tampa Bay fan now because Tom Brady plays there for what, maybe 2 more years. I mean, he's what, 43? Is he 43, 44? He wanted to play till 45. He's got a year or two left. Unless he's like, I'm going to play till I'm 47. I mean, who knows with that guy? The story's always changing. Me personally, I mean, if he plays this year and one more year, I don't see him winning a Super Bowl. I mean, I know it's far-fetched, kind of, but and with that, I think, that'll be the end of him. Now, let's say he does win one with them. If it's like this year or if it's next year, I say he wins that one and then he's done. And he's just
He'll go out on top like Peyton Manning.
Well, not only does he go out on top, but he's like, I think part of him too has this thing in his mind where he wants to prove like he can do it without the Patriots too. So it's like if he can win a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay, it's like, all right, I got 7 and I did it somewhere else. I've proved my point. I'm good enough no matter where I play. I'm 45. Okay, I'm done. And he walks away. That's my theory. And then John can rip it apart. And if he disagrees, that's fair. That's my
Nah,
theory.
man, I'm just happy to see people on the Patriots smiling
Yeah.
rather than
Right.
frowning. And I love the cerebral game that Belichick's playing with Brady too, where he's going. And part of this is to make Cam feel good, but true. But Belichick's just swoons over how hard of a worker Cam Newton is. He's made it very public that he's the hardest worker he's ever coached. So there's like this little cerebral, these little digs, and they obviously going to have a good relationship. They're connected forever, Belichick and Brady.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy the little subtle jabs and where they're going and moving on. And Brady has the ultimate chip on his shoulder. So doesn't Belichick. They're the same type of person, man.
100%.
Same type of guy, and they both have something to prove. And just the law of aging, especially in the NFL, Belichick's probably got more time to prove it. Belichick has till he dies. Brady has a limited amount of time, just because he can still probably play football into his 50s. It's just you can't play NFL football at a high level into your 50s. It's just not capable. Like Brett Favre still could break your hand if he throws a football at you. But you just can't play in the NFL game anymore. It's just too much. So, he's still incredible athletes, but that catches up with you. There's a difference between a 25-year-old and a 45-year-old. It just is what it is.
Do you predict that Tom Brady will be like, Michael Jordan or Brett Favre, where he'll do the retire and then he'll come back 3 years later and be like, I kind of missed it. I want to come back, and then he comes back again.
No, when he's done, he's done.
Like Mario Lemieux.
Yeah, I wouldn't think he'd play. I could see him playing longer and extending it if he feels good. I think he's probably going to play 2 more seasons. I think he's probably going to play 3 total years in Tampa. But I don't see him retiring and coming back. Absolutely not. Once you retire and come back, it's a different thing. Look at Gronk. Your body changes. He's not physically the same guy. It just changes, man. The football shape's very different. The way you work out, even at quarterback, the way Brady plays, it's a physical change. You just can't come back to it. And it's not like Jordan left when he was in his 30s, man. He came back. He was in his prime, and then he came back. And like people forget, I mean, he was 40.
Wait a minute.
Then when he finally hung it up.
I don't mean when he left in the middle of the 3 championship, the back-to-back 3. I mean like when he left the Bulls and then he came back and played. Was it for the Wizards?
Yep.
Yeah.
But he was still in his prime, man. Like he was 35 years old. And he took a couple of years off and he came back and he was like 38, 39 or whatever. He was like 40, maybe at the most.
Yeah.
The most impressive athlete to me recently, to be honest with you, Vince Carter. He still was in the NBA last year. He's played in 4 decades. He played in the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, and 2020.
Oh, yeah. I think I remember reading about that.
4 decades, man. He's like 40-something years old, and he played in 4 decades. And so that, to me, is one of the more impressive longevity things. Obviously, he didn't play at the level Jordan did, but he's an all-time great and probably going to be in the Hall of Fame. So that's impressive. Another long – yeah, absolutely. Well, deservedly so. But another longevity thing, that to me is almost more impressive than Jordan, just because he's stuck around and he knows the game, and obviously different mentality. But I see Brady being like that. Brady's going to play until he can't, and then he's going to be done.
So with that, we're getting towards the end of the show, and before we wrap it up, I want to thank everyone for watching. Nick, thank you for joining us.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun having you on. Now, as the guest, I'm going to throw it to you really quickly. The floor is yours. Anything you want to say personally about Drew Estate? Anything you want to say on the show before we close out?
Not a whole lot, man. Thanks for smoking our stuff. Thanks for enjoying it. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate you guys. Good to see you, John. Good to see you, Matt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you again. Thank you for joining us. Keep the stuff coming. It is good stuff. John, floor is yours.
Nick,
anything you want to say?
Nick, thanks for coming on the show. You're truly one of the best out there in what you do. There's few people I hear as many compliments about, from consumers, retailers, and everything. That's a testament. This is a challenging business. It is just smoking cigars, but people complicate that a lot, and to have that type of reputation is a great thing. So thank you for coming on to the show, and look forward to seeing you on the road. Second, Hacking Gourmet. We've got Hacking Gourmet on Monday, October 5th. This will be our Halloween special. We had a little change up. We've got something that we're going to be pushing back to the end of the month. But this will essentially be our Halloween kickoff show. It's going to be called Chucking Gourmet. It'll be a chuck steak version. Some of us will be doing chuck burgers. Some will be cooking chuck and ribeyes. But it's a play off of the Chucky movies. So it'll be called Chucking Gourmet, and that'll be on Monday. And tune into the Cigar Authority on Saturday. A huge LFD announcement and Hacking Gourmet announcement coming on Saturday. And we'll be following up with that again on Monday on the Hacking Gourmet show. But yeah, so Hacking Gourmet Monday, Chucking Gourmet, Cigar Authority on Saturday, Smokin Tabacco next week on Thursday.
Absolutely, man. You got a busy schedule.
Yeah, oh yeah. It gets, you know what? I was trying to fill my time during COVID. Now I don't have as much time, and it's been interesting to fit these things in, but it's all worked. I've just created some systems that allow it to go with ease. So that's, the more organized you get, the more stuff you can fit in.
True that.
True. It's very true. Well, guys, thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next week, and don't forget, McAuliffe Ambassadors. Go to the McAuliffe website, sign up, be an ambassador. Great stuff over there. Go to Nova, use our discount code, get 50% off. That's SMKTAB15. Go on there, check it out, get some cigars, try them if you haven't had them. They're cool. They're cool cigars, and we will see you all next week. Take care, guys.